Time for some more wins. This time, apparently good news. But good news concerning the Valorn? I'm not too sure. Good news first. In the east, in the trackless forests of Broceliande, the Valorn is stirring. Since the autumn equinox, it has been a tide in flood, gaining in power and momentum as it strives to flex, to expand, to fill all the available space in the territory as it once did, in the years after the city fell. It has no heart. It lives equally in all things that are of it, in husks and ettercaps and abominations, in every deranged human servant, in every strange plant, and soil, and the water, and the air itself. While part of it takes the form of enemies that can be slain, it is no more a creature than an avalanche, or a hurricane, or a forest fire. The Navarre must endure its catastrophic rise, or be swept away, losing what little foothold they had gained in that dark forest that shrouds lost Teruniel beneath its whispering boughs. This is the second season of conflict, but the Navarre do not fight alone. In response to the words of a troubadour of dawn, knights come to the greenwood. Out of the north come 20 questing knights and knights errant in their bright companies of knights and yeofolk come to Broceliande to seek glory in the battle against the unnatural spawn of the deep forest. Some come for other reasons, for virtue, or in search of a grand challenge, or to reinforce the bond between the nobles of Semerholm and the brands of Borsdell, perhaps. Regardless of their reason, their aid is invaluable in turning the green tide. From the south, in answer to the call of the priests of Highguard, comes aid in the form of soldiers and supplies. Grim-faced monks, pilgrims in grey hoods, cataphracts, and unconquered all take up arms to aid the Navarre. Just as valuable is support of a softer nature. Some congregations send herbs or supplies, or come not to fight, but to minister to the soul and heal the body of those who do fight. The Navarre are human, after all, and Highguard serves the destiny of all humankind. Not all the aid is natural. The eternal Tharim on his bitter throne has been given leave by the Vates of Navarre to devour the herb gardens and forests of Miarin, Thurunin, and Herkinia. As his servants glut themselves, feasting on the wholesomeness of the trees and plants, so he sends his barons and knights and wizened witches to Broceliande to aid the defenders there. A cadre of sneering bone-armoured knights comes to Borsdell, appearing at dusk 9 days after the winter solstice. Where they walk, they leave a patina of frost behind them. Snow falls where they erect their coal-black tents, from within the shadows of which come the sound of whispering chains. They fight with crude iron flails and scourges made of spiked chains that tear and blight flesh and bark with equal ease. To Elarail in the south comes a baron, Fona of the soft voice, third of the three who came to the Empire from the copse of the bone birch, wrapped in tattered black wool and faded leather in mockery of Highguard. Her ivory face hidden by a great enshrouding hood, she draws the dead to her, binding them with chains of words and obligation. They throng around her, forming bodies from leaf mould and old bones and scraps of hide. She arms them with rusted implements of torment and slaughter, and they follow in her wake as she walks behind the thorns, ignoring the many questioning glances they direct towards her. And deep in the Valorn's embrace, a circle of withered, dry-as-dust warlocks, their eyes bound with dusty bandages, surround the Brock. As they freeze into place, heads bowed, arms outstretched like maleficent mannequins, a cold wind touches every plant within the compass of their ring, withering it, killing ivy and tree alike. but for the rest of the season those Valorn spawn who approach too closely take sick and flee back into the forest. If those sheltered within the Brock suffer nightmares each night, dreams of failure, torment, guilt and despair, it is perhaps a price many are willing to pay for the certainty that their steading will endure. 35 bands of Navarre warriors and 1 band of supernatural warriors in blackened chain with great shields and heavy maces come to Broceliande to protect Eluriel and Borsdale and the steadings that still stand beneath the malign gaze of the Valorn. By themselves they would have saved Borsdale, but they would have lost the Brock, and the Valorn would have surged into Eluriel and begun to ravage it. Even with the aid of Tharim, bought at so high a price, they would still have lost the Brock. Only with the full support of their neighbours to the north and the south did they have a hope of holding the Valorn back another season. But they did receive that aid, and they did hold the Valorn back for another season, and the Brock did endure. Yet, for all that, the tide of the Valorn does not slacken. As the spring equinox draws closer, it is notable that the miasma is thickening, that ettercaps and abominations larger than anything seen so far are reported in the forest, and that more and more ancient husks are emerging from the depths. The battle so far has been hard, but it is clear that this particular crisis is very far from over. And nor is it the only crisis, although the situation brewing in the west seems to be much more mundane in quality. Liathhaven. The first the Empire learns about the attack in Liathhaven is when the surviving half of Bone Ring striding made it out of the forest into Bregersland, pursued by orcs. The Jotun clash with Marcher Bounders and Yo-folk who come to the aid of the Navarre. As soon as they encounter resistance, the Jotun fall back into Liathhaven. Over the next few weeks, more information slowly filters out from the former Navarre territory. A large Jotun army has come across the border from Hordaland into West Ranging. Their numbers are swollen by the addition of thousands of summer knights, heralds from the fields of glory, who take the form of orc-like warriors with spreading antlers. What little information there is suggests these orcs march under the banner of Bear Who Swims, and that they have conquered almost the entire West Ranging in a single season. They quickly overrun the token Imperial presence in West Ranging, and by the time the wider Empire even knows they are there, they have reportedly already set up several armed camps across the region. One of those camps is in the ruins of the old steading of Silent Stand, which watches over the northern gateway to the paths of Lan Thuven, a magical path that allows Navarre armies to pass through the Valorn-infested westward unmolested. While the Empire liberated West Ranging during their fight with the Valorn, the rest of the territory remains mostly in the hands of the Jotun. At least those parts of it that are not in the possession of the Valorn. If the Bear Who Swims complete their conquest of West Ranging, they will again control all parts of the territory that are not under the sway of the Valorn. The Jotun, however, are not the only people in Liathhaven. The Feni of the Woods That Fell, at least those who came south through the marches, are also in the northern woodlands. Their numbers apparently swollen by the survivors from the raid into Alderley. It's not clear how the Feni will react to the presence of the orcs. There are also a scattered few Navarre, still clinging stubbornly to their forest and striving to restore the trods that once connected to the Valorn there to the rest of the Empire. If there is one positive piece of news from Liathhaven, albeit tentatively positive, it is that the Jotun do not seem to be going out of their way to slaughter the Navarre they encounter. Perhaps the efforts of the generals to present a more honourable face to the Western Orcs have paid off. They still receive no quarter, and are not offered the choice. But rather than execute prisoners, the Jotun drive the Navarre out, killing only those who refuse to flee before them. The presence of the Jotun most likely puts an end to any Navarre hope of driving the Valorn out of the westward, unfortunately. Time is running out. Even with the powerful winter magic lying over the territory, the Valorn will have recovered too much strength to be uprooted by the start of the summer solstice.